Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
State of the Union there last night, Joel, but the market not responding too much. Just a slow, steady climb here. We're up $3.
You know what the State of the Union should have been? That this market is never going down.
This market is just steady as she goes. Look at the climb from the beginning of the year on this chart. Opening the year, and we are just steady, slow, steady, higher highs, higher lows. We had a little bit of consolidation there for a week or two, about a week ago, but really, it's just this slow creeper rally.
Yep, the only reference point we have on the upside here, yesterday's high was 1519, coincided with the October 27 adjusted high in the futures of 1519.50. That's resistance. That's where we're trading at. So get above there. Another breakout. On the downside, the pre-market low 1516.50 coincided with the close. So 3-point range and just heading higher.
State of the Union didn't affect the market, but it did affect a couple of 3D printer companies because Obama did make a mention of 3D printing in his speech. DDD trading up significantly here this morning, up another $1.70, 64.70. It sold off yesterday, but it's getting a lot of that back here today. Obviously, it was up at 67.50. Steep sell-off. I had a few stocks quietly selling off yesterday, but the stock is getting a little bit of a spike here this morning. Is this a rally to sell here, Joel, or what do you think?
65.50 is what we hit in the pre-market. We've sold off to 64.50. There's the parameters you should be following in that stock. Looking at the daily chart, really no resistance point at that 65.50 high. We got room up to the $68 level. That
major resistance up there.
Yeah, major resistance there. But I don't know how much stock you can put in on just something that's mentioned during the State of the Union.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't mention these companies. He was just mentioning on technologies. SSYS, another one that is lifting up here a bit this morning. Similar sell-off. Stocks do move in sync together. It's up $2, 77.50 is where it's trading right now. Again, yesterday had the big sell-off there. Spiked towards, or it's coming back up, getting about half of it back here. But you get up to about 79, $80 on this thing. I think you got a lot of people that are a little bit nervous after yesterday's steep decline.
Yeah, a little bit of a delayed reaction here. 77.50 is where we're trading now. Not a ton of volume associated with it. Looking at the dailies, it had a big day yesterday. Obviously, someone did not get the memo that he'd be mentioning something positive about this. Major support 75.5 area, and really no identifiable resistance until yesterday's high at 81.62.
Yeah, very light volume here, though. And like I said, when you get a steep sell-off like that, and then you get some type of rally on like a mention or something like that, it's not really nothing fundamental to the company here. So I'm a little bit suspect of these rally in these two stocks, and it might give those shorts or the longs an opportunity to lighten up. Joel, CMC, Comcast buying the 49% stake of NBC from General Electric. Both of those stocks up sharply here. Let's start with CMCSA. Wow, what a move. Also reported earnings which were in line, but they're raising the dividend. Picking up that 49% stake is huge for this company.
It's the spike in the pre-market got right up to the 42.50 level. We'll keep that at resistance. Also snuck up there again not too long ago, up to 42.42. Got to use this 41.5 level as support. This is just a big move for both stocks. Blowing away the dailies here. Let's go to the weeklies.
Oh, blowing everything away. I think this is an all-time high.
New all-time high?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yep.
And the only thing I'm looking for is 42.50 as resistance.
I've still got this stock. It was a spin-off from AT&T like 8 or 9 years ago. You can tell how in my long-term investment portfolio that I do hold for a long time. I got spun off when AT&T broke up. They spun off that AT&T wireless, the shares of Comcast, and all the other fun stuff. And I've still got a few shares of Comcast kicking around my portfolio. I wish I would have added to that one. But obviously that stock is just really really done well here, and now it's really lifting up here on this news of purchasing the 49% stake of NBC. General Electric here is lifting as well. This is a $16.7 billion deal for them, so they're going to get $16.7 billion for that stake. They also announced that they're increasing or accelerating their buyback plan. Everything looking great here for GE this morning. It consolidated there for about the last week or two, and now is in complete breakout mode, obviously on fundamental news, but we got to go back a ways to find a high here on this one. If you go back to October, we got up into the 22.96.23 area, but we're above there now.
Right. Well, let's look at the pre-market chart. When the news came out, this thing spiked over 23.50. Actually made a high at 23.54. Got a little sell-off just under the 23.20 level. So those are your early parameters in the stock. But you're right. It did have, I think I noted yesterday that it had 9 out of 10 highs within a 12 or 13 cent range. Snuck up towards the upper end, took those highs out, closed up there. Then this news comes out. But, I mean, is this just like, what are the standard deviations for a move this large in GE
This
off
is
the
just
open?
an enormous. This is the biggest move I've seen in GE in a very long time.
Ever.
Yeah, well, they had a big move off their last, I think it was the earnings report. They had a pretty decent move up, but this is huge. This is a huge move. I mean, it is, a deal for them where they're going to pick up 16.7 billion. So obviously that's going right into their pocket. So it is getting a lift on that. But wow, this is an incredible move for General Electric. 23.50 I would think might give you a little bit of resistance. I would play the half and the whole numbers as this thing continues to climb, because you've definitely got some institutions that have been in this thing for a long time, maybe looking to lighten up at those half and whole numbers as you approach those. The last time we were up here, we got to go out to the monthlies. It was 2009, Joel. So you're getting back up into some area that we have not been to in a very long time. So as the stock climbs, it could run into resistance at the 50 cent and whole numbers. Deere also.
And just along those lines, what about all that stock in the book there? I mean,
that's what I'm saying is like you're gonna see. Well, it's traded so many shares, so it'll blow through that probably this morning. Whatever is in the book, I'm sure it'll eat that up. But as you approach new levels that it hasn't touched through in the pre-market and after hours, that's why I say if it gets up to 23.50, if it gets up to that 24 area where it hasn't been through yet in the pre-market or in the after-hour session, you could find regular resistance there. So obviously if there's some institution that's been dumping at 23, he's going to get filled on the open probably well above 23. But if they're looking to sell 23.50, 24, that liquidity obviously will come active at 9:30, and would not surprise me if it runs in a little bit of resistance there. But wow, what a move for General Electric! Incredible. Deere, $1.65 versus $1.40. Stock trading a bit higher here this morning, 94.67 right now after closing at 93.97. So a nice beat. They beat on revenue too, 7.42 billion against 6.72 billion. What a spike this thing had off the initial report. Is that right? Wow. How high did that get, Joel?
98.71.
News algo got a little bit excited.
Yeah. And then like, oh no, we bought too much, and then
we bought too high.
Too much and too high. Got it back down to the 93.50 before it recovered. Let's look at the daily here. Look at this nice little top up here that we had a little over a week ago at 95.60. Obviously, we blew through that in the pre-market. I'd be keeping an eye on that as your first major resistance point.
Yep.
I think if you come back down to 94, 94.01 was yesterday's high with the 93.97 close. So if you are shorting this thing off the hop, expect the bids to start accumulating at the $94 level.
The cat getting a little bit of a lift off of the Deere numbers as well. If you bring up the pre-market chart, it was trading up higher earlier. It's actually pulled back now just because Deere pulled back as well. Cat got up in the 97.80 area with its sympathy move. Cat often does trade closely with Deere. Has pulled back, trading virtually flat now, only up 15 cents as Deere has pulled back as well.
Yeah, one straight print at 98, but since then, someone's definitely decided to take a stand here at the 97.80 level. Looking at the daily charts, this stock has found some minor resistance at that 98 level, 98.16 was the high on February 7th. If in fact we get through there, the resistance moves up closer to the $99 level.
I'll tell you which stock is falling off a cliff. It's CLF, Cliffs Natural Resources. It is absolutely getting murdered here this morning. Stock closed at 36.61, is trading 31.90 right now. Disaster. They beat actually the quarter 62 versus 60, but that was an adjusted number. They actually lost money in the quarter, a significant amount at that. They're cutting the dividend by 70%. They announced a public offering of 9 million shares, so this company is looking for cash. Citigroup downgrades, Deutsche Bank downgrades, just everything going wrong here this morning. Obviously, the stock started selling off when they initially reported, continued to sell off, and just continues to get beat up here in the pre-market.
I guess the only thing they're missing is an accounting scheme.
I know. They kind of threw the whole everything at it. Everything that shareholders don't like. Dividend cuts, more shares dilution, downgrades. They've got everything thrown at them here this morning, and that's why.
Or infidelity by a high-ranking official.
Well, yeah, that's never a good thing either. But
yeah, those are the
so
two
maybe
things.
we should cut them a break here.
In the pre-market here, the spike took us down to 31.18. Had a slow rise since then. I mean, nothing to write home about, but let's keep an eye on that 31.18 low. As we see many times in these kind of scenarios, they overshoot a bit in the pre-market and then take another run at it during the regular session. So I like the 31.18 level. Obviously, you got major resistance here at 32.5. That's been the pop. Going back on the weekly, his stock was down here before, Dennis. We were down here under $30 at 29.51.
Yeah, back in December.
Yeah, not too long ago. But
when you have this much bad news, you got to think it might go down there and retry to test those lows, maybe sooner than later. So I would be very cautious if I was picking bottoms in this one. Not your value investors are probably hating this stock right now.
You know what people say who pick bottoms?
They get sticky finger.
Yes, exactly.
Buffalo Wild Wings, speaking of sticky fingers, Buffalo Wild Wings trading down here $3 this morning. They reported earnings 89 cents, actually a miss, 89 versus 95, so ouch. Stock is giving back $3 here, $78 is where it's trading after closing at 81.07. News algo sold lower, looks like down to 75. Has lifted up that news algo. He must be losing some money, man, the guy that's running that off the news, because it seems to overshoot every single time. Overshot here again too. Is consolidating, finding a little bit of support in that 77, lifting up to 78 now.
Yeah, at 75.05 was the low in the pre-market. We've got to bounce. I do like this consolidation here at the $77 level. If we pull back to that area, I expect some minor support. Let's talk fundamentals a little bit here. I mean, I really don't like their wings.
You know what?
I mean, I think they're just kind of wimpy.
I've never been there, and this is something that's crazy because I'm around these things all the time, I feel like, and I just have never gone into one yet. I've got to go into one and try it. I've heard both. I've got a friend that works at one in Toronto. We're actually getting one in Windsor eventually here, and obviously they're all over Detroit. So, I mean, I'd like to go in there and try them here sometime so I could give you my real opinion, but I haven't tried them, so it's hard for me to give you any fundamentals from a taste perspective, but you're telling me they're not that great.
Right. Also, it's got a gap to fill here from quite a while ago between 74.34 and 75.22. So let's keep an eye on that level if it really continues to go into reverse.
I think you're going to see some support where you're finding it here, though, because you had lots of reference points between 75 and 76, almost like a whole accumulation pattern ahead of the earnings happening, $77. So I think that's why you're finding it bounce at that level, and I wouldn't be surprised if the bounce actually did hold. I don't think you're going to see follow through on this one, but you never know. A couple other stocks here that reported RAX, R-A-X, Rack Space Hosting. This stock is getting murdered here. Stock closed strong, 74.98. Obviously, nobody got the memo on this earnings ahead of time because they came in 21 cents with estimates of 21 cents, but they missed on the revenue, and they are absolutely beating the stock up. It's down at $66 right now, trading down through all kinds of support. You got to go back really into December to try to find some numbers here.
Yeah, rack space getting racked here in the pre-market, just slumping here. 66.30 has been the low. This is one of those formations where you're really not getting an uptick yet. So keep an eye on this one. If you're shorted or you're trying to play it from the long side, wait real close to that 925, 930 session. See where it bounces. We just got to bounce up to 66.60. So use that reference point 66.30. I'm sure we got to go out to the weeklies here to find some support in this thing. You did have some lows above the $65 level at 65.84. So 65.84 to 66 is your support levels.
Lots of stocks ex dividend today, and a lot of S&P stocks. So I just want to fly through a few of them just to let you know. Like Chevron CVX is ex dividend for 90 cents today. The adjusted close, I know it's going to say on a lot of your systems that the close is 116.50. Not the case. The adjusted close for the dividend is 115.60. So I have to knock the 90 cents off. So it's actually trading up a dime right now at 115.70. You've also got 3M, which is ex dividend here today for 63 cents. Adjusted close on that is 102.82. You've got DuPont adjusted close 47.55. You've got Lilly adjusted close 53.31. All of these stocks actually had pretty good run-ups yesterday. A lot of them did anyways. I know Chevron was fairly strong even when you compare it to ExxonMobil, so it got a little bit of that, probably priced in that dividend already from yesterday and the day before as the stock was running up into the ex-dividend. Sometimes what you see is a run up into the ex-dividend. They might fairly open strong but then trade a little bit weaker relatively to the other stocks in the sector after it goes ex-dividend. So keep that in mind if you're trading any of those stocks. They're all ex-dividend. Boeing ex-dividend as well.
Yeah, the reason we like to mention that is there are short-term players in the markets that just focus on these dividend stocks
Yep.
for 2, 3, 5, 6 days ahead.
Yep.
Accumulate the stock, accumulate position, knowing they're going to get the overnight juice, and then a lot of them will, look to get out at the mark, at the close from the previous day. Sometimes you can, take home the dividend and make money on the stock position. So
Or
the
even if
reason
you
we like
take
to
home the
mention,
dividend for 50 cents or something and you only lose 20 cents or lose 30 cents,
yep.
you're still making 20. So that's really what they're trying to do. They try to do that and try to sneak out of it and for not the entire cost of the dividend. And a lot of times the strategy can sometimes work, sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of times what you see is there's actually an accumulation pattern a day or two before us. Other investors are doing the same thing, trying to buy the stock ahead of the dividend. And then the dividend comes out and obviously it knocks the share price down. And sometimes you see some follow through. Stocks like AT&T and Verizon, they often have that pattern where they run up and then they really sell off afterwards. Stocks like Chevron, they're going to move more on oil prices. They're going to move on other stocks in the sector. So a little harder to play, but just, you got to be aware when they're going ex-dividend because you have other types of players in there that aren't normally in that stock. Joel, you want to talk about the Facebook sell-off yesterday again. Facebook obviously did break down through that $28 level. Got up, gave you a couple chances. If you look at yesterday's chart, if you could just bring it up, gave you a couple chances to sell it in the 28 handle, but then turned around and started selling off again. So this classic technical breakdown, if anybody got that yesterday, congrats. That's a good trade there, looking at that $28 level as major resistance still.
Yeah, and I think someone else hopped on a downgrade later in the day. They kind
Well,
of
Bernstein started the party there,
Yep.
downgrade, and then the stock
And I
continued down.
can't think of someone else that came out later in the day. But that $28 level, I know it snuck up there in the morning, and then 27.96, and I didn't see it at 28. I looked later, and it did sneak over that level, but just very weak at the end of the day. Looking to fill a gap here from the end of last year. You had a 26.99 high on December 31st. Yesterday's low gets down to 27.10. I would look for some support in that area. One or two bounces, maybe did like you did after it hit the $28 level. But I tell you, between 26 and 27, man, it looks
like air. It looks like
Yep.
air. I think this chart looks broken to me. I think the story's over for now. I mean, they were getting a lift on all their mobile revenue, which, to be honest with you, I have a Facebook account. I've talked about this before. I find the mobile ads, terribly annoying, enough to turn off possibly some users. I think it was short-term gain for long-term pain, so I'm obviously not in love with Facebook here, and I don't like the chart. So I think the stock could move lower here short term. I just think you're going to have some people either getting nervous and possibly the short term herd moving out of the stock. As much as they were moving into it a month ago, they're now moving out of it. A couple other ones here just to talk about. Apple, wow, what a sell-off for Apple yesterday. Tim Cook not mentioning anything about, or yesterday didn't mention anything about returning cash to, or imminently returning cash to shareholders. That turned off a lot of people that had accumulated the stock from the last couple of days. Stocks rallying 85 cents here this morning, but it had a pretty big sell-off yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he said he would consider the ideas, but definitely made no notion that they were going to proceed in that direction.
Nothing imminent.
Nope, nothing imminent here. I don't know if he was wearing an iWatch or not. We did the rally here did take us up to that old low that we had that was support before the earnings faux pas here. We did get up to the 485 level. We have come from 435. You have a 50-point rally here, so let's see if we can find support around the 460 level.
Yeah, I love that 460 number.
Yep, to validate this is just a simple retracement of the rally here.
Just let's close up with the overall market again. Like we were saying, 15.19 is where we're trading right now. It's been this creeper rally, very, very quiet, obviously. I'll just wait for you to bring up the chart there. Oh, Joel's doing his thing again. He likes to confuse his ES and his ES.
Yeah, boy, that's going to be a popular stock someday. Energy Solutions.
Yeah, just buy that and people Energy Solutions. ES 15.19 obviously is where we're trading. We're very quiet here after this State of the Union there last night. So what's your take here? Do you think we just continue to climb or...
If I'm getting super bullish, we're probably really due for a correction. But look at the 1520 high. That's the high in the pre-market. That's your only reference point that you have on the upside. You might sneak above that or test it. 1650 was the close. Or excuse me, 16 and a quarter was the close. The Globex low, 1650. Under that, you have a little bit of a 3-point drop, but surely nothing seems here to be shaking the bull yet. And that's really how to sum up this market. Just wanted to close the show. We did get a request here to take a look at Groupon here, having a nice move in the pre-market as a result of an upgrade. Are you convinced that this is going to have any follow-through?
It might. You've had a lot of the dogs, like we've been talking about before, that have come into favor. You obviously in the huge rally in Zynga, it sold off yesterday, but Zynga obviously had a big rally from 5-6 days ago. A lot of these little companies, obviously Groupon back in November got down to 250. It quietly doubled in the last 3 months. Stock trading now up in the pre-market here again on the upgrade. Stern AG upgrading the stock here this morning. So, yeah, I think you could see some follow through here. I'd be very hesitant. You got a 576 reference number from the first.
Yep.
So obviously that's your first area of resistance. Would I short it there? Maybe for a short-term trade, but if it started cutting through, making new highs, 580, 585, I'd probably cut out. I mean, it has consolidated here for the last month. Does look like a bullish chart to me if it starts to get above that 576 level.
Yep, 572 was a high in the pre-market, so you have an excellent reference point if you're looking to exit along in Groupon.
That's our show for today, folks. Have a great trading session, and we'll be back with you guys tomorrow.